Hello, welcome to Altaghier English broadcast. The Iraqi Ministry of Defense declared the start of building the wall of Baghdad by their engineering battalion. According to a statement issued by the ministry, that the engineering battalion started to open roads to more than 10 kilometers, adding that the Iraqi forces will continue in removing the checkpoints and opening the roads until the end of the wall construction. Officials said that the objectives of building the wall is to protect the capital from the attacks that targeted civilians throughout the past years. However, Sunni political parties considered the Baghdad Wall project as the start of dividing the country. Baghdad Operations Commandment declared that they have prepared a new plan to arrest anyone who pretends to be a part of the popular mobilization in Baghdad. According to a member of the Security Committee Council in Baghdad, Saad al-Matlabi, that the plan aim is to arrest persons claiming to be with those factions and blackmail the citizens and the merchants for the sake of getting money. The disclosure of the plan was after the announcement of the Iraqi Prime Minister Haidar al-Abadi to expel the uncontrolled elements within the factions of the popular mobilization. The United Nations said a local UN staffer in Iraq was killed after he was abducted from the eastern province of Diyala last April. The statement added that Amir al-Qaisi, the Diyala representative for the UN mission, was found dead in November near the city of Baquba with a gunshot wound, suggesting he had been executed. He was buried a month ago, but his body was only identified on Monday after friends looked at photographs. Several Iranian-backed militias operate in Diyala, which lies between Baghdad and Iran, were accused of killing more than 40 Sunni civilians there last month, in apparent retaliation for two bombings claimed by ISIL. The Guardian newspaper stated that 3 American contractors that were kidnapped from a party at their translator's house in Baghdad about a month ago have been freed and handed over to the U.S. Embassy. Iraqi and Western officials suspected the Americans had been taken by one of the Iraqis' militias, and the search for them focused on Al-Sadr city. They were the first U.S. citizens abducted in Iraq since the withdrawal of American troops in 2011. But the country still has a big problem with criminal abductions for ransom and political kidnappings. Several foreigners, including Turks and Qataris, have been seized in recent months. The deputy spokesperson Mark Turner has mentioned during a press conference when he was asked about Kurdistan referendum that the United States believes in a unified and democratic Iraq.
I mean, we've been very clear, and our policy remains unchanged. We support an Iraq that is unified, federal, pluralistic, and democratic.
Yeah, but I think we're all aware of that. That's not something new, but this is like new development. This is all like almost happening. There's a specific date for that, and I think everybody knows that what the result of that referendum would be.
I mean, you know, we look. I mean, the Kurdistan region has been under tremendous pressure, both economically, but certainly from the presence of ISIL or Daesh. We recognize that has put pressure on the local government, but that doesn't, and frankly, we've been working diligently through Iraqi command and control to provide them with the necessary tools, assistance that they need to fight Daesh. But that doesn't change our overall policy that we believe it's in Iraq's best interest that it remain unified and democratic.
The U.S. Department of Defense spokesman said that Saudi Arabia participated in airstrikes as part of the U.S.-led coalition against ISIL over the weekend. U.S. Defense Secretary Ashton Carter, who has been under pressure to shore up support from Sunni Arab allies to fight ISIL last week, welcomed the commitment from Saudi Arabia to expand its role in the airstrikes. Saudi Arabia has focused its military efforts over the last year on the conflict in Yemen, where it is leading a coalition of mainly Gulf Arab forces battling Houthi fighters who control the capital Sana'a. The Pentagon spokesman Peter Cook said that Saudi Arabia did participate in strikes over the weekend. However, he did not specifically say what were the Saudi actions and where it occurred. U.S. President Barack Obama said that the United States will continue to try to prevent ISIL from establishing a foothold in Libya, where political instability has created an opening for them.
I have been clear from the outset that we will go after ISIS wherever it appears, the same way that we went after Al-Qaeda wherever they appeared. And the testament to the fact that we are doing that already is that we took out ISIS, one of ISIS's most prominent leaders in Libya. We will continue to take actions where we've got a clear operation and a clear target in mind. And we are working with our other coalition partners to make sure that as we see opportunities to prevent ISIS from digging in Libya, we take them.
The Council President of Venezuela said that the United States Security Council expressed concern during a closed-door meeting over Turkish shelling of Kurdish YPG militia targets in Syria and called on Turkey to abide by international law. According to Venezuela's UN Ambassador Rafael Dario Ramirez Carino, President of the Security Council for February, Syria wrote to Council and Russia requested the briefing by UN Political Affairs Chief Jeffrey Feltman. Turkish artillery returned fire into Syria for a fourth straight day on Tuesday, targeting the Kurdish YPG militia, which Ankara says is being backed by Moscow. Ankara fears the YPG are trying to secure the last stretch of around 100 kilometers along the Syrian border not already under its control. The UN officer for the coordination of humanitarian affairs said that the Syrian government has approved access to 7 besieged areas, including Mu'adamiyat Sham near Damascus and Deir ez-Zor, and UN convoys are expected to set off in days.
The government of Syria has approved access to 7 besieged areas, and those include Deir ez-Zor, Fua, and Kafria in Idlib, and Madaya, Zabadani, Kafir Batna, and Madamiyat Isham in rural Damascus. Humanitarian agencies and partners are preparing convoys for these areas to depart as soon as possible in the coming days. And as the special envoy pointed out, he said in his remarks to the press in Damascus that the test will be tomorrow.
U.S. President Barack Obama said that Russia's involvement in Syria is testament to the Syrian government's weakness and that it would be smarter for Russian President Vladimir Putin to help broker a political transition in Syria.
The fact that Putin finally had to send his own troops and his own aircraft and and invest this massive military operation was not a testament to a great strength. It was a testament to the weakness of Assad's position. That if somebody's strong, then you don't have to send in your army to prop up your ally. They have legitimacy in their country and they are able to manage it themselves, and then you have good relations with them. You send in your army when the horse you're backing isn't effective. And that's exactly what's happened. Now, what I said is that Russia would involve itself in a quagmire. Absolutely it will. If there's anybody who thinks that somehow the fighting ends because Russia and the regime has made some initial advances, about 3/4 of the country is still under control of folks other than Assad.
The visiting United Nations Peace Envoy for Syria, Stefan de Mistura, said a wider range of humanitarian aid to the besieged country will start on Wednesday.
We have been particularly talking about the issue about humanitarian unhindered access to all besieged areas, not only by the government, but also by the opposition and by ISIL. It is clear it is the duty of the government of Syria to want to reach every Syrian person, wherever they are, with humanitarian aid, particularly now after so long time. Tomorrow we will have a test of that, and we will be able to talk more about it.
Hillary Clinton proposed a new plan to bridge inequalities between black and white Americans in New York City as she seeks to maintain a crucial edge in popularity among black voters over her Democratic rival for the presidency, U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont.
We have to begin by facing up to the reality of systemic racism, because these are not only problems of economic inequality, these are problems of racial inequality. So I'm proposing a comprehensive new commitment to equity and opportunity for African American communities. That means a real plan to create jobs. If I'm elected president, we will direct hundreds of billions of dollars in new investments to places like Harlem and rural South Carolina. Including $20 billion aimed specifically at creating jobs for young people.
Brent oil fell almost 4% on Tuesday, erasing early gains after top producers Russia and Saudi Arabia dashed expectations of an outright supply cut by agreeing only to freeze output if other big exporters join them. Benchmark Brent prices jumped briefly through $35 a barrel after Russia and Saudi Arabia agreed to keep output at January levels in what could be the first joint OPEC and non-OPEC deal in 15 years. Qatari Energy Minister Mohammed bin Saleh Al Sada said this step would help to stabilize the oil market, which has experienced price declines not seen since the early 2000s because of a supply glut. The Telegraph newspaper stated that Britain's economic growth could be undermined unless companies promote more working class and help to improve social mobility. In a rare speech outside her policy brief, Justine Greening, the International Development Secretary, said that fundamentally Britain's economy won't survive unless a fresh surge of talented youngsters are promoted. Ms. Greening also demanded companies go further than just providing apprenticeships for those from the poorest backgrounds. Ms. Greening used her own story of being made redundant from British Steel and knuckling down to study at universities in her call for better social mobility in Britain. According to the Washington Post newspaper, that anyone infected by or potentially exposed to the Zika virus should wait at least 4 weeks before donating blood in the United States. The agency said that those people include those who have had symptoms suggestive of Zika virus during the previous 4 weeks, those who have been with a person who has traveled to or resides in an area with active Zika virus transmission during the prior 3 months, and those who have traveled to area with active transmission of Zika during the past 4 weeks. The agency added that the FDA said that the affected areas with Zika virus, which includes U.S. territories such as Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands, and America Samoa, blood used for transfusion should be obtained from areas of the country where the virus is present. People living in those affected areas also should consider refraining from giving blood. Hundreds of purebred dogs packed into New York at the second day of the two-day competition to put their best paw forward at the Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show in hopes of advancing towards the goal. That's all for the news. Have a good day.